Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to be going over the upcoming choice that many summoners are going to have to make. When the Legends celebration ends, there is the potential to trade in the 3 tokens that you've earned from doing the various Legends activities to get a 7-star selector of 6 new exclusive 7 stars, 1 per class. I like this feature a lot. I think it is sort of changing the way that we acquire champions in a creative way. I do not remember anything even remotely close to this in the release of 6 stars so early on that everybody would have the chance to just get a free one like this. So I'm personally excited. I'm actually not fully decided on which one I'm going to pick, but I am going to kind of go through all of them and give you some pros and cons of why you may want to choose them or not choose them. And before we get into the actual champ breakdowns, the 2 factors that I think also need to factor in are one, do you have this champ as a 6-star, or even if you do, are they ranked up, or are they somebody that you would be interested in investing in as a 6-star? Because if you say already have like a rank 4 or rank 5 of one of these champions, you may not want to take this opportunity to double up. At this stage of progression, you may want to be expanding your roster to have new characters at this high power level, and it's just something to consider. So for example, I do not have Captain America Sam Wilson, so he's definitely on my list of like, well, it'd be cool to get this guy as a 6 or 7 star and start messing around with him. It's definitely a factor. The other thing is to look at the amount of utility and class types that you already have at 7-star. I like to look at the different rarities as trying to like be as diverse and as covering the bases of utility as possible. This is the way we make decisions for, you know, our rank 4s, our rank 5, 6 stars, things like that. You want to make sure you have various immunities covered, various pieces of utility, and things like the class wheel, which are pretty important for countering most content in the game. You kind of want to have options at that 7-star rarity. So for me, I actually have 0 cosmic 7 stars currently, which is a point in the camp of Red Goblin for me, because he would be the first one, a guaranteed cosmic, who has a little bit of that cosmic utility like buffs and power drain immunity and things like that, which could be interesting, So anyway, with that, do keep those 2 things in mind, because those are going to be account specific, but we're going to get into all the champs and break down the pros and cons. So starting off, we're going to do the science champ, which is Ant-Man. I like that Ant-Man is here. He is buff immune, he is poison immune, and he is shock immune. So if you do not have a 7-star or a highly ranked 6-star that kind of ticks those boxes, you may really want to consider getting Ant-Man. Those immunities do come into play. He has a lot of debuffs. He has the glancing, which is going to make him very, very tanky. The one thing that he's going to be missing unawakened is the pause. When he gets his PIM particles, it pauses his debuffs, which can really, really help sustain him and make him a more enjoyable to play champion. So for me, having an unawakened one is not necessarily something I would want to have on my account right now, and being unsure of when I could actually awaken him is definitely going to be a factor for why I'm personally not choosing him. But if your science roster is feeling a little weak, I think he is a wonderful champion to add. If you do manage to get him awakened in the next few months or something like that, he is a real workhorse when it comes to the science class. Just being nice and steady and having him at that 7-star rarity is going to make him very powerful and feel like he is actually hitting hard as well, instead of needing to kind of ramp up and get those poisons going. So I do really like Ant-Man. I think it's one of the better buffs that we've seen recently. The awakened ability for me is going to be a little bit of a deal breaker, but take a look at your science roster, because he can do a lot. And I think that, you know, unless if you have Titania or something already as a 7-star, you may want to consider picking him up. Next up, we're going to go to Mystic class, and that would be Ebony Maw. Now, for a lot of people that are interested in Battlegrounds, I think he is the top choice. It makes sense. I do want to point out that, you know, like Ant-Man, and honestly, like a lot of these champs, the awakened ability is pretty important for Maw, but it's not a deal breaker. I really like that when you inflict the Falter, you get an additional degen. It's a really good source of damage. it's just, it doesn't really affect his flow, and he's still going to be annoying on defense with just the falter in general because you're going to get smacked after. But you know, if you want that extra damage on offense and defense, it is pretty important even at low sig. And then he also, I think there's something about auto block that he's able to bypass, and he gets some more ability power rate, which will help his heavy power steal and mystic dispersion and stuff like that. So it does make him better. But the thing is, him at this level, that special 1 nullify degen is going to be massive if you accidentally have that happen to you. The thing is, there are so many excellent science champions who are either nullify immune or fully buff immune or don't proc dex and things like that, who are just so good against him. Or Scorpion, who's got the physical burst damage against that low physical vulnerability of Maw. I do not see him being an outrageous threat on defense just because people have learned to fight him, but it is one of those champs that if you make a slip up, that special 1 degen is going to like take out a ton of your health and probably make you lose the match. On offense, he's definitely underrated. Like I said, I do like having the awakened ability for offense, but it's not completely necessary. His flow and his core mechanics are mostly the same, even without it. So I do think he is a very, very strong choice, especially if you don't have one ranked up or you want to add to your mystic power in terms of defenders and you run mystic dispersion. I think it's a really, really good choice. Next up, number 3, we're going for Cosmic class, which is Red Goblin. Now, just a quick aside, Red Goblin is a huge nostalgia champ for me. I was collecting Spider-Man comics during the Red Goblin run, and I don't know when that was. It was like 2020 or in 2018 or 19 or something like that. You know, I really enjoyed the Red Goblin story, and then when I grinded for him as a 5-star, I made a video guide, which was actually how I met some of my best friends in MCOC and kind of like reinvigorated my channel. So I do have a lot of nostalgia for this champion. I do also really like his awakened ability, another common theme, but he does have, I think I said it wrong, I think it's power burn immunity, and he also has a little bit of Spider-Man evade ability, accuracy reduction or something like that. So that is helpful, that little piece of Venom utility. That doesn't come up that often, but it is just a quick reminder that it's there. He has Incinerate immunity, he can inflict Incinerate, and he gets lots of buffs. Now, he's pretty good unawakened. He does really enjoy having the awakened ability, which gives him an extra copy of the buff. And then he also really enjoys high sig because it makes the potency of that second buff even higher. But the thing I like about the 7-star is that he has the full combat power rate even at rank 1, and that is important because you often want to be throwing a lot of specials. You want to be getting to your special 3 in some types of matchups. So having the increased combat power rate, plus you can throw on the Energize, I do think Red Goblin's going to be pretty powerful, and he's going to make a little bit of a renaissance if people get him as a 7-star. As I said, I don't have any Cosmic 7-stars, so I am very heavily leaning toward him. It's sort of a little bit of a nostalgia pick, as I said, but I do think that he will add some value to my roster. And finally, if you throw on the 3 Odin pre-fights with him, and he does have some interesting synergies like with Carnage and some other ones that I won't get into in this video. But if you do kind of, you know, soup him up and give him lots of the Odin pre-fights and synergies and such and whatnot, he is actually quite a force to be reckoned with in things like incursions and long form content, because when he has additional buffs, when he throws a heavy attack, it's going to be stacking incinerates, and that doesn't necessarily need the awakened ability. So if you do love incursions, if you want to maybe have like a dark horse pick for a Cosmic that you can bring to whatever the sequel to the Abyss is, I do think that he could have some value there and in the future, and I'm probably going to be picking him. You know, the ideal scenario would be that one of my 7-hour crystals rolls onto the Selector and I get him there, and then I dupe him on the guaranteed Selector. I doubt that's going to happen, but just getting a copy of this guy is going to actually be pretty exciting, and that's why I'm leaning toward him. Next up, we have skill, and we're going to talk about Black Panther. Now, Black Panther is going to do a ton of damage as a 7-star, especially if you run deep wounds. He does miss out on a lot of his amazing utility, which is like he can purify a debuff, and he can also reduce ability accuracy. The thing is, though, that does kind of require high sig, so I don't really think that a sig 0 versus a sig 20 Black Panther is going to feel like completely different, and it's going to be a long time before you can sig 200 him. So the reason I would pick Black Panther is he's really fun to play. He has really good bleed damage, and if you want somebody that's just going to do a lot of damage and you like the skill class and you don't have a lot of skills, I think he's a really solid choice. But if you do want a little bit more skill utility, there are of course champs like Elsa Bloodstone and Mantis who are already in the crystal right now, and we're soon going to be getting some other ones that do have some extra utility, like Shang-Chi is going to be added to the Titan crystal. So, you know, if you need skill utility, I don't think he's your man, low sig or unduped, but he is a very interesting damage champ, and he's super fun to play, and you could certainly get him and start practicing with him, and then as time goes on, if you do dupe him and get some sigs into him, you're going to have a wonderful skill champion at your disposal. Next up, we're going to talk about Emma Frost, the mutant, and she is probably the one who needs the awakening the least out of all these champions, because it doesn't really do that much on offense. It gives her a little bit of a safety net if you take a big chunk of damage, but sometimes that awaken ability can actually hurt your damage because it puts you into diamond form, which brings your prowesses back to 5 max. So you could have been working up to like a nice 10 prowess special 2, and then you take a really huge blocked hit or something, and then you go back to 5 prowess and you can't get those back. So it does in some ways hinder the offense. The other funny thing is when you place her on defense, a lot of people are used to the inverted controls, and they sometimes forget if it's unawakened that you just do standard dexes of her specials. That's like a tiny thing, but it might come up every once in a while. I do think that she has a ton of utility. She has immunities that are pretty easy to access. There are certain synergies with her that keep her in diamond form quite easily. I think it's Colossus. I'll have to go back and look. But I remember, like, if you need those immunities to stick forever, you can really keep them going that way. She has really good synergy with Kitty Pryde as well. Kitty Pryde can get the inverted controls utility to counter that as well. But yeah, I do really find I'm interested in her playstyle. She has pseudo power control with the special 3, and then also if you parry heavy in diamond form, it barely grants them any power, so you can really build up to a big special 2 with 10 prowess in no time. And I do really like that the 7-star has the ability for stat focus. I think for her you definitely want the crit rating, the precision, because that's going to give her a more likely chance that the special 2 is going to crit, and when the special 2 crits, it hits really hard. The biggest criticism with her is when it doesn't crit, it feels very meh. So having that extra stat focus and the challenge rating of a 7-star, I think is going to go a pretty long way. And I would say if you don't know who to choose, Emma Frost is probably the safest bet. I think she has the most well-rounded utility, is the best at sig 0, and will take you a pretty far way in content and battlegrounds, and you may even find that you want to use her in Alliance War, because at this power level, she is going to be quite a force to be reckoned with. Now, finally, we're going to talk about Sam Wilson, Captain America. Very underrated champ. I don't know why nobody really talks about this guy that much, but he has an amazing set for tech utility. He's an annoying defender, and his damage does ramp up in longer fights, like medium long fights. It just, like, you don't see a lot at the beginning of the fight is the issue with him. Now, like almost everybody else, I do really like that awakened ability, you know, the well-timed blocks giving the sapped charges, and then the extra red damage that you get off of it. That is pretty important for the way he works. But I will say that if you're in lower tiers than like tier 1 and 2 with Alliance War, the prowess power node is going to be around for a while. You know, those defense nodes stick around for many seasons. And he is actually a very good power burn champion. The attack tactic that is going to be combating that. And just in general, you know, a lot of the new mutants that are coming out are pretty annoying, and having a really good tech champion who can counter them, even unawakened, is kind of important. So I do think if you like tech champions, but if you are lacking somebody that, you know, doesn't have like the armor up and the cowardice and like some of that utility that you are looking for in tech champions, he can do a lot. If you put the armor burn tactic on him, he's going to be really good, even unawakened in Alliance War. And then you can really look at him as an investment in the future. If you like the character, once you get him awakened, it gives him a good ability. And then if you give him high sig, the damage is going to go higher and higher as well. And I do think, as I said, he's very underrated and could be an interesting choice for people. I'm very tempted to pick him up because I do not even have him as a 6-star. I think he's the only one that I straight up don't have in this crew. So in a lot of ways, it would make sense to get him. But like I said, I think I'm leaning toward Red Goblin. We can make some fun videos with him, synergize him with some of my favorite symbiotes. Like, I've got the rank 5 Null already. As you know, I love, you know, Venom and Ancient Venom and Carnage and champions like that. So I think we've got to go with Red Goblin. But that said, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Who are you thinking of picking up? Was this video helpful at all to you? Let me know what I forgot as well. I'm sure I missed some big pieces of utility or little reasons here and there for you to pick up a specific champion. I'd love to hear your opinion. Might even do a poll a little bit later if we get enough feedback on this video. So thanks for checking it out. I will catch you in the next video. Have a great day. Catch you in the next one.